July 1783. In southern Iceland, a priest named John Steingrimsson writes down something strange about the grass. It looks fine. It is not fine. Something has settled on it that he cannot see, cannot smell, and has no word for. His neighbors' animals are already dying. Their teeth are falling out of their heads. Within 2 years, a fifth of Iceland will be dead. And 1,200 miles away, in England, people are dying too, of something nobody there will ever name. This is what they saw happen. England did not know any of that was happening. What England had was a sky. In the Hampshire village of Selborne, a naturalist named Gilbert White is keeping the record he has kept for 15 years: rainfall, first swallows, frost dates. He is 62, a fellow of Oriel College, living in the house where he was born. Remember him. He is the reason we can argue about England at all. That summer, he writes something he has never written before: that the sun gives no proper daylight at all, rust-colored at noon, blood-colored at rising and setting, dim enough to look straight at. He calls the summer amazing and portentous and full of horrible phenomena. He is not a scientist. There is no such job. He is a clergyman with a garden and an unusual habit. He writes down what he sees, in order, with dates, and he does not embellish. The haze reaches England around the 12th of June. It smells faintly of sulfur, it stings the eyes, and it does the one thing English fog never does. It stays. Weeks of it, through what is also one of the hottest summers anybody can remember. White records the thunderstorms, the strange light, the livestock behaving oddly. He records a countryside full of people out working in the middle of it, because this is a farming nation in the middle of harvest, and harvest does not stop because the sky has gone wrong. He does not say what caused it. He declines to guess. Nobody in England has any framework for the idea that a crack in the ground in the North Atlantic could reach into a Hampshire garden. Others do not decline to guess. That same summer, Horace Walpole is writing letters, and he is fed up. On the 15th of July, 1783, he complains about the parched leaves, the dust, the endless haze that gives no dew. And then, almost in passing, he writes the line that pins the whole season: "The sun sets like a pewter plate, red hot." That is a man watching the atmosphere of Europe fill with volcanic sulfur and finding it tiresome. This is the engine of the entire story. Nobody in England ignored a warning because nobody in England was given one. There was no mechanism by which anyone could have connected any of it to anything. The disaster arrived disguised as an unpleasant summer. 1,200 miles north, the ground had already opened. Back in Iceland, Steingrimsson is a priest at Kirkjubaejar Klauster, and by necessity, his district's doctor as well. He is about to spend 2 years counting. He writes that a black haze appeared over the mountains behind the summer pastures in clear and calm weather, and that within a short time it had spread across the district and darkened the insides of houses. I have to stop and tell you something, because this channel is built on primary sources. Steingrimsson's account is the best eyewitness record of this eruption in existence, and I cannot read you one word of it. The only English translation is under copyright. So everything he says here is my summary of what he wrote, never his phrasing. If you want his voice, the Icelandic manuscripts are free online and the link is in the description. What comes out of that fissure is roughly 120 million tons of sulfur dioxide. What settles on the grass is fluoride. Steingrimsson writes down what it does to the animals that eat it. Their teeth loosen and drop out. Growths appear on their jaws and their leg joints. Horses lose the flesh from their heads, sheep are too weak to stand, and the grass still looks fine. That is the whole horror of it. There was nothing to see. Ordinary grass in ordinary daylight, already lethal, and no instrument on Earth in 1783 that could have told anybody so. Iceland in 1783 has around 50,000 people, and almost all of them live on what those animals produce. Most of the cattle die. The great majority of the sheep die. The famine that follows is remembered as Moduhardindin, the missed hardships. By the end, somewhere around 9,000 Icelanders are dead, about a fifth of the nation. In Copenhagen, the authorities discuss, seriously, loading the survivors onto ships and giving the island up as a place where people can live. Steingrimsson buries a great many of the people he has spent his life serving, and he keeps writing the dates, the farms, the animals, the names, because he is afraid that if he does not, the human experience of it will vanish with him. He was right to worry. It very nearly did. That is Iceland. Iceland is documented, and it is close to certain. England is the argument. You will have heard a number. 20,000 English dead, killed by a volcano they did not know existed. Here is where it comes from. In 2004, two Cambridge researchers, Claire Witham and Clive Oppenheimer, went through the burial registers of 404 English parishes across 39 counties. They found two spikes, August and September 1783, about 40% above the average for the surrounding 50 years. Then a second, in January and February 1784, after a brutal winter. Add them together, and you get roughly 20,000 extra deaths. That is the whole of the evidence. Not bodies, not physicians' records, burial columns in the handwriting of parish clerks. 404 parishes is about 7% of England. They were not randomly chosen. They were gathered by volunteers and picked for having complete records, and the researchers say plainly that they are not necessarily representative. And the map is wrong. Parishes with a severe mortality crisis sit directly beside parishes with none. Same county, same air, same weeks. A gas cloud does not stop at a parish boundary. It has no way of knowing where one is. A contagious disease does, because disease travels with people, along roads, between the places that trade with each other. Then, in 2021, a larger set of those registers was run again. Deaths in England in 1783, about 59,000. In 1784, about 56,000. The average across the previous 30 years, about 58,000. Both years land inside one standard deviation of ordinary. That does not prove the haze killed nobody. The sulfur was real, the heat was real. People across Europe wrote that they could not breathe. It may be that the sampling has hidden the dead. It may be that the heat did most of it. It may be that the haze brought disease rather than poison. Here is why the argument is not academic. Iceland is erupting again. The Reykjanes Peninsula has been in an active phase since 2021, and magma has been accumulating beneath Svartsengi at levels the Icelandic Met Office describes as higher than before any previous eruption in the current sequence. Nothing on Reykjanes so far is a Laki. Laki was a different order of event. But the planning for one exists. Governments model a Laki-scale fissure eruption as a European public health emergency on the grounds that a sulfur haze over a modern, densely populated, air-conditioned continent in a hot summer would be a serious problem. And when they build those models, they need a number. They need to know what the last one did. Look at what we actually have. A naturalist who wrote down the color of the light on his own floorboards. A bored aristocrat who compared the sun to a pewter plate. A priest who buried a fifth of his nation and kept writing so that nobody would forget. And hundreds of parish clerks who wrote a name and a date and a name and a date. Every one of them did exactly what you would want a witness to do. They left us the best record anybody could have left. And it is still not enough to tell us how many people died.